Graham Potter hiring a goalkeeping coach was always going to be crucial, because without that guy in place, we would not be targeting a new number one. This week, we confirmed our new goalkeeping coach, and today, ExWHUEemployee has revealed Graham Potter's number one target for the number one position. Step forward, Zion Suzuki of Parma, 22-year-old goalkeeper, turns 23 over the course of the summer. Now, sometimes we get linked to players that we've heard of, but may not have seen play. For me, Richard Rios is the perfect example. When we initially got linked to him a few months ago, heard of him, never seen him play. Seen him play quite a bit now, thanks to the Club World Cup, but hadn't when we first got linked to him. That is not the case with Suzuki, though. Heard of him, seen him play. Once. Second last game of the season, Serie A, Parma against Napoli. It finished 0-0. Bit of a cagey affair, because Napoli won and Inter failed to win. They would have won the league that night. Now, it wasn't the best game to watch Suzuki in, because he wasn't that busy. Napoli were underwhelming. I think the nerves got the better of him. However, 20-30 minutes to go. Napoli had a free kick just outside the box. Who stepped up? Scott McTominay. Of course, who else? That man in Lego form. There he is. Scott McTominay stepped up. Whipped it into the far corner. A lot of pace, a lot of power, a lot of bent. It was beautifully struck. And it came crashing off the bar. However, when you watch the replay, that's when you discovered Suzuki actually got a strong finger to it. Lucky misses. But the save was a massive... I'm sorry. It was a top save by Suzuki. Wow. One of those moments you watch over and over and you think, I can't believe he got there. It was a stunning effort by McTominay, but the save was world class. But because I've only seen him play the once, that's all I know about him. So, as always on Hammers Chat, it's time to speak to someone who's seen him a lot more than I have. Find out what Sloth thinks about Suzuki, if he would pay the big money for Suzuki. But also, what's his weakness? He's got something that he needs to improve and work on. But he's also got something that could benefit West Ham immediately, just like that. We'll get on to him in a minute. You're going to find out all you need about Suzuki from Sloth. Before we do that, I just want to point in the direction of our online sale. I know you've heard it all before. However, today I've spent a lot of time splitting the sale into two categories, but also making further reductions. So we've got category number one when you go on there, which is the Everything Must Go sale. That's the stuff that I need gone by the end of July. It's heavily reduced at the minute, 10 quid off. Well, the Christmas jumper is £15 off, £35 down to 20 quid. Some people bought a Christmas jumper this week. A massive thank you to you, legends. I appreciate you a lot. Mrs. Gio needs those Christmas jumpers gone, but I need them gone. I'm getting grief about them because we missed last Christmas because Grace was born, so we didn't really promote them much. So I missed the... They've been sat there for the entirety of 2024 waiting for Christmas time 24 to promote them and sell them, and I couldn't. I need them gone. There's loads of stuff on there. The Irons on Tour t-shirt, the Champions t-shirt, Irons on Tour mug. Heavy reductions on these things. But in interest of clarity and transparency, which I think we're really good at here on Hammers Chat, so much so, and I'm hoping our patrons can agree. In April, I showed patrons how much I earned doing YouTube on Hammers Chat in March. How's that for transparency? I bet you don't get that elsewhere, do you? But there's also another part to the sale, which is things that we've reduced, but they're not necessarily Everything Must Go. So we've got the Rolling Stones t-shirt, the Oasis Irons t-shirt, the Stone Roses t-shirt. There's a lot of books on there. So we've taken a few quid off it. However, they won't be getting reduced further. The other page, they might do. It depends how quick we sell. Paquette t-shirts, a £5. Vans Day t-shirts, a £5. Have a look. There might be something you like. HammersChatStore.com. 2 different pages. Have a look. Anyway, enough about my crap jokes. Enough about me promoting the store. Let's find out all about Suzuki from Babbling Irons, Sloth. Sloth from Babbling Irons. How is oneself?
Yeah, no, I was struggling with dad adjustments to the world, but I'm very, very good. And apologies for my hedge-driven look, but yes, it's I'm over the moon.
Well, congratulations, a massive congratulations to you from all of the people at Hammers Chat, myself, Gonzo, the team, subscribers, even the trolls. Big congratulations on becoming a daddy. Anyway, right, are we ready to discuss Suzuki? Because I'm looking forward to this one. ExWHUEemployee said that's our number one target. We're already in advanced talks. So it sounds like the club's been trying to get things done on the quiet, which is good, makes a change for once. But I want to know about him. I've seen him play one game, Sloth. One game. That's all I've seen him do. However, I think he's one of those players that you've heard of, perhaps haven't seen play much. I think the perfect example is another player we're linked to is Richard Rios. I think everybody's heard of him, but who's actually seen him play kind of thing. But there's a lot of hype about Suzuki. Man United heavily linked to him this summer as well. There's one statistic that stands out for me that I look at. I think this looks alarmingly good, which we'll get into in a second. But before we do that, tell me about him. What have you got? The floor is yours.
Well, so as we mentioned, he's a young keeper. He's 6'3", and he is built like a tank. Like he is a specimen. And I think that when you look at him and you talk about him, one thing that has to be mentioned before anything else really is the ceiling with him is huge. And you mentioned you'd seen him in a game, and we kind of discussed that beforehand, where he made this incredible save against Scott McTominay, and his reactions, particularly for that, the pace with which McTominay hit a free kick, and it looked like Suzuki didn't really do anything, but then you watch it again in the replay, and he just gets a really strong fingers to it. And I think that's one of his overwhelming attributes. It's his physicality, presence, but also the ability to make those quick reaction saves, to get across the goal so quickly. And I think that's where he really excels. And Parma are a bit of a funny one. They have some really incredibly talented players, and I kind of know that we are looking at Parma. We've watched a lot of them because they have this mix of young, very talented players who I think have high ceilings. And when you look at Suzuki, he's probably the pick of the bunch. Angio Boni's just gone to Inter Milan, and when you look at them now, he is very much the sort of jewel in their crown.
Came from Japan, had a year in Belgium, but just a year in Serie A. Does that sort of lack of experience, albeit he is 22, just wait to turn 23 before the season starts, does that bother you, or do you think this is the right time to go get him? Because if you were to wait a further year, he might be out of the reach of West Ham.
I think it's definitely the right time to go and get him, as there are going to be these worries about lack of experience. But I think whenever you look at any sort of young goalkeeper, that's always going to be part of the question. And as you quite rightly say, this is the kind of player that has already been linked with Man United in the past. And if you don't move now, you're potentially going to miss out. And one of the things that I've kind of heard rubbished already is that he has got this supposed €40 million release clause. Now, I mentioned Angio Boni earlier. They've already sold him to Inter Milan, and they sold him for quite a low amount in comparison to what I think people are expecting. I think it would be the same with Suzuki. I think they'd also sell under that release clause. And I think anything under £30 million, complete no-brainer in my opinion, because when I'm going to sound very cynical and people might roll their eyes, but when you look at the wider picture and the fact that he offers you something not only totally different because he's from the Japanese market, but he's also, he's got Ghanaian heritage. So from a marketing opportunity, he's almost a unique prospect. And not only does he give you that gateway to the Asian market, but he gives you, part of the Ghanaian market as well. And I think he's the kind of player and presence in goal as well. He's very talkative, shouting. He likes to shout at his defenders. And how often have we heard West Ham fans say, we need someone who does that. Yeah. We need someone who's going to kind of communicate. And it's not all positives. There are some weak parts, and the inexperience that you mentioned is definitely one of them. I've seen people kind of wax lyrical about his distribution and his kicking. I think that's kind of one of the weaker parts of his game at the moment. It will obviously improve the more he plays, but the real strength of his distribution is his throwing. And he's got an excellent throw and an eye for a throw as well. Quite a lot of the sort of positive moves Parma have made have been from Suzuki releasing something quickly and even just like cannoning it with his arm up the pitch. He's got a really long throw. So I think while the kicking may take a little bit longer to kind of refine, one of my bugbears for ages has been when Bowen is looking to create space or he's looking to break, and Areola or Fabianski just tend to kind of hold on to it too long. And I think that would be something that could easily add a few goals next season and be something that really helps us ease pressure and gain yards up the pitch. So for me, I think kicking needs a bit of work. Maybe the claiming of crosses, but he does like to punch. So you kind of got to weigh that up, and again, if you can punch it instead of catching it and potentially opening yourself up to all the loopholes that come with that, centre back muscling you off the ball and it rolls out your hands. If you can punch it away and get it to someone like Souček or Bowen, whoever it might be, then that's a real positive as well. So it's definitely a signing that I really like the idea of. The cynical part of me is already a bit like, can I see West Ham doing that though?
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? It's even when you're being optimistic, saying they'll take a lot less than the release clause, it's still towards the £30 million mark, which is very, very expensive for anyone really to spend on a goalkeeper. Goalkeepers traditionally are the cheapest position in your team, so 30 million's a hefty sum, and that's without the context of West Ham's financial situation, in the context that you'd imagine we won't be selling Areola this summer. Therefore, we're not bringing any money in from selling a goalkeeper. We're replacing a goalkeeper that left on a free in Fabianski. So it's not like, Emerson and Doof, where you'll be recouping some of that money immediately. That's not at play here. So that's why I feel like it's maybe a little bit optimistic because of the transfer side of things. I guess to play devil's advocate with the inexperienced thing, I actually think maybe you could argue he's got a lot of experience for a keeper of his age, not even 23 yet, and he's just had a full season in Italy's top flight, a full season in Belgium, played for Japan's national team. I've seen he started 10 goals in the World Cup 10 games in the World Cup qualifier. So I assume he's Japan's number one, although he was on the bench last 2 games, but I don't know if they were just rotating and trying things out or something. So in terms of his age, he's actually got a lot of experience. It's not really his fault he doesn't have more. It's just simply an age thing. I want to apply a little bit of context to what you said regarding his kicking and distribution. How do Parma play? Do they want him to play out from the back? Do they encourage him to receive the ball from defenders, hold on to it, invite the press, and then play it out, or do they encourage him to perhaps get rid of it a little bit quicker?
I'd say they're more sort of counter-attack orientated.
Yeah.
And if they can beat the press by passing it back to him and trying to utilize his kicking, they'll do that 100%. But I would generally say that they're much more counter-attack focused, in the sense that they won't look to absorb pressure, because I think defensively they've been quite weak. I say quite weak.
Yeah.
They've been very weak this season, but it's a case of they know their strengths lie in their pace on the counter, and the smaller players they have, like Bernbau, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But someone like him who links up the play really well and can get it to an Ange Boney, or someone like that who can outmuscle players or utilize their pace. That's very much how they'll play. Not really looking to draw a press or invite pressure onto themselves. So while I kind of mentioned that his kicking accuracy isn't the best, I think it's more a case of that's just from dead balls and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense then. I mean, the statistic that stood out for me, you've already mentioned it in regards to dealing with crosses. He's very high up in terms of the percentiles when it comes to coming and, I say, getting the ball, dealing with the cross. As you've given the context there, it's punching rather than catching. But he seems like he's quite commanding of his box in that regard. Something I feel like we lack with both Areola and Fabianski. I don't think neither were really good at that area or that aspect of the game. How important, and this is the context of Sloth now, how important is it for you that we get in a new number one this summer?
For me, I think it's one of the biggest biggest areas we need to improve. I know that the old cliche is you build from the back, and that's how great teams are made. I still very much believe that if you haven't got a good defense in front of you, then it's immediately going to be harder to pick up points. And if you have a great defense in front of you, but you have someone absolutely useless in goal, then again it becomes infinitely harder. So I think we need to be really prioritizing a move for a young keeper who can be with us for the long term, or someone who will help us get back to where we are. People kind of turn their nose up at this idea of signing someone to sell, but in my opinion, it's signing someone to perform and attract interest. If he's attracting interest, it's because we're doing well, and if that means we're back in Europe, then of course there's going to be eyes on him and there's going to be interest in him. So for me, I think the goalkeeper spot has to be addressed, and we've already let Fabianski go. We need someone to come in. There's a big lot of wages that are going to be freed up in general, and I personally wouldn't be surprised if Areola does go. I've just got a sneaky feeling about it, and I think there would be interest from a Saudi or an MLS club to get someone who has been at Real Madrid, PSG, and all these big sides. And if not, I do think part of that budget will come from someone like ExWHUEmployee being sold. And I think there's tons of value in the centre-back market at the moment. And, we've apparently looked at Hajdari and players like Charlie Cresswell. Even together, you're talking about 20 million pounds or euros there. So if we were to sell ExWHUEemployee for anything around that, then you can still put money towards Suzuki, and you're in a good place. So I think looking to make a new break with goalkeepers and kind of wipe the slate clean. Maybe we give the young, is it Hungarian lad that we've got in the academy, who's also absolutely massive. We give him a bit of a chance in the cups or something, and look to bring in someone like Suzuki. I'm quite happy with that. But I do think we need a new number one.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not averse to selling Areola. I'm actually pro selling Areola. I'm just a bit, Saudi makes sense. I'm just a bit unsure anyone will be willing to A, pay a transfer fee for him that we'd want probably 8-10 million, and B, also his wages are such a significant amount. He's on over 100 grand a week at West Ham, so it's not like you're asking someone to come and get a player that's on 50-60. That's a huge outlay. Not everyone can afford that. But that's why I go back to Graham Potter, which says, I can't remember exactly, we have a lot of money not on the pitch at West Ham. I completely agree with him. But what you then can't do is go bench your goalkeeper on 125 grand a week, because then you're contributing to that. So maybe your theory that we might sell Areola could come to fruition, especially with bringing a new keeper, because I think he had the ump a little bit when Fabianski replaced him. Never mind a 22-year-old coming in and nicking his spot. I'm not sure he's going to be like, oh, that's all right, I'll go sit on the bench. Cheers, lads. I think you might see a bit of a reaction there. But I guess that's more important, why you need to get the keeper done immediately, which is if Areola turns around and said, I wish to leave now, he's telling you in the middle of July, not in the middle of August, and you're thinking, right, okay, we've now got 2 weeks to get him out and get someone else in. It's a big change. Right. We'll finish it up with a bit of fun, as always, Slop. Before we do that, this guy, who you see quite often on this channel, is from Babbling Irons. You want to know and see more from him and Mike and Frankie over at Babbling Irons. The link to their channel is in the description below, so go head over there and give them a subscribe as well. Two things. One question and one topic. But the question is, out of 10, how much would you rate this transfer if it was to happen?
Oh, I'm going to say 9, just because
love that.
There is that young element, and it's West Ham, so there's bound to be some sort of error in his first season, and people go get all angry. But I rate him massively, and I think the sky's the ceiling with him. Sky's the limit. You can tell I've not had much sleep, but I really do like him, and I think, from that cynical part of my brain, the marketing as well would be huge for us.
The second part, which is a bit more fun, Suzuki or Fab? If we had a cup final tomorrow, cup final team. That's why I always call it. What's your best team? What's your cup final team? Who's starting in goal for you, Suzuki or Fabianski?
Oh, I think for me it would be Suzuki,
Right.
just because, as I mentioned, it's that element of his physicality, and he's quite one of the key aspects that I forgot to mention is that I like his reading of the game. And I know at times we've seen Areola, even Fabianski, get caught in no man's land and sort of just run in and do something and make a complete hash of it. Suzuki doesn't really do that. He does like to storm out, but it's generally from quite a good, confident position. He'll be on the edge of his area or something like that, and he'll make the decision to go and commit and put his head on the end of something. And I like that. But I think his overall physicality, the agility that he's showing is next level. And I think Fabianski would deserve to start. I love him for what he's done for the club. But if I was looking to win it, I'd put Suzuki.
Suzuki or Areola?
Given this season, Suzuki. If you'd asked me this when Areola was in the Europa League, I'd have said Areola, because he's got that experience. But now I just kind of think that
Areola 7 haircuts ago, you would have preferred him, but it's kind of bit. But who would you prefer to buy this summer, Suzuki or Aaron Ramsdale?
It's not even close. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's who we've been linked to, right?
Yeah, I think it would be closer between Hermansen.
I was getting to him then. Suzuki or Hermansen, which one?
Yeah, I think Hermansen's the safer bet.
Yeah,
I think, but with my heart, I'm going to go Suzuki.
Love that.
Just because I think he's got that bit more potential.
Love that. Right. Well, Sloth, thank you. Thank you very much. If you guys at home have enjoyed this video, please don't be shy. Drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up. Subscribe to Hammers Chat and pop over and subscribe to Bad Bears. And next time we get linked to someone I don't know, Sloth will be back. We'll see you then.